In the early 1930s, Charles Lindbergh wasn't just a household name, he was a living legend. 5 years earlier, in 1927, the young aviator had made history by becoming the first person to complete a solo nonstop flight across the Atlantic, flying from New York to Paris in a tiny monoplane, the Spirit of St. Louis. He was the embodiment of American courage, innovation, and the soaring spirit of the new age. The press crowned him as Lucky Lindy. The world followed his every move. His marriage to Anne Morrow, the daughter of a U.S. ambassador, only amplified the fascination. The couple moved into a secluded estate in Hopewell, New Jersey, where they hoped to raise a family in privacy, far from the noise of reporters and admirers. On June 22, 1930, their first child, Charles Augustus Lindbergh Jr., was born. A healthy, beautiful baby with bright eyes and a cherubic face. The nation, already obsessed with the Lindberghs, took special interest in the child. Little Charles Jr. was dubbed the most famous baby in America. But behind the high hedges and strong stone walls of the Lindbergh estate, no amount of fame or security would protect the family from what would come next. It was a quiet Tuesday evening on March 1, 1932. The weather was cold and damp. The Lindberghs were spending the evening at home. At around 8 p.m., Charles Jr. was put to bed in the nursery on the second floor by his nurse, Betty Gow. At 10 p.m., when Anne went to check on the baby, she noticed something chilling. The crib was empty. A frantic search began throughout the house. Doors were checked. Windows examined. Then someone spotted something outside, a crude wooden ladder, broken at the bottom, lying just beneath the nursery window. In the room, a hastily written ransom note sat on the windowsill. Dear Sir, have $50,000 ready, $25,000 in $20 bills, $15,000 in $10 bills, and $10,000 in $5 bills. After 2 to 4 days we will inform you where to deliver the money. We warn you for making anything public or for notify the police the child is in gut care. The baby was gone. The family was devastated. The police were called. And within hours, the house was swarming with investigators, reporters, neighbors, and even amateur sleuths hoping to help or capitalize on the growing spectacle. The next morning, headlines screamed, "Lindbergh baby kidnapped." The nation was gripped with panic and disbelief. Lindbergh, who had always distrusted law enforcement, took control of the investigation himself. He even allowed gangsters like Al Capone, then in prison, to offer help finding the baby. The FBI wasn't yet authorized to get involved, since kidnapping wasn't a federal crime. So, the New Jersey State Police and local authorities worked in tandem with private detectives. Over the next few weeks, a series of 13 ransom notes were delivered to the Lindberghs, demanding more money and promising the baby's safety. A man known as Dr. John Condon, a retired schoolteacher from the Bronx, inserted himself into the case, claiming to be a go-between. Astonishingly, Lindbergh accepted Condon's involvement. On April 2, $50,000 in marked ransom bills were paid in a Bronx cemetery. Condon handed the money to a mysterious man known only as Cemetery John, who claimed the child was safe on a boat called the Nellie off the Massachusetts coast. But no boat was found. And no baby returned. On May 12, 1932, a truck driver named William Allen pulled off a rural road about 4 miles from the Lindbergh estate to relieve himself. As he stepped into the woods, he noticed something strange. There, half buried under leaves and dirt, was a small decomposed body. It was the body of Charles Lindbergh Jr. The autopsy revealed the child had been killed by a massive skull fracture, likely on the night of the kidnapping. His tiny body was badly decomposed, partially eaten by animals, and wrapped in remnants of clothing. The child had not survived the night despite weeks of ransom notes claiming he was alive. America's grief turned to rage. The case went cold for 2 years. But then, in 1934, one of the $10 gold certificates from the ransom money turned up at a Manhattan gas station. The station attendant, suspicious of the quiet man paying with it, wrote down the car's license plate. The car belonged to a German immigrant carpenter named Bruno Richard Hauptmann, living in the Bronx. When police raided Hauptmann's garage, they found $14,000 of the ransom money hidden in a box. Handwriting samples matched the ransom notes. Even more damning, a piece of the makeshift ladder used in the kidnapping matched wood from Hauptmann's attic floor. He was arrested on September 19, 1934. He claimed he was innocent, that the money belonged to a friend who had since died. He denied involvement. But the evidence was damning. In January 1935, the world watched as Bruno Hauptmann went on trial in Flemington, New Jersey. The courtroom was packed. Radio stations broadcast updates live. Reporters jostled for seats. The Lindberghs sat solemnly just feet from the accused. The prosecution painted Hauptmann as a cold, calculated man who planned the crime for months. They showed that the ransom notes were written by him. That he built the ladder. That he had the money. That no one else could be responsible. The defense argued that the evidence was circumstantial. That Lindbergh had interfered in the investigation. That public pressure had rushed the police into blaming a man who wasn't guilty. But the jury saw otherwise. On February 13, 1935, Bruno Richard Hauptmann was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to death by electric chair. He was executed on April 3, 1936, at the New Jersey State Prison. He never confessed. To the end, he proclaimed his innocence. The case forever changed America. In response to the Lindbergh kidnapping, Congress passed the Federal Kidnapping Act, also known as the Lindbergh Law, in 1932, making it a federal crime to transport kidnapping victims across state lines, giving the FBI full jurisdiction in such cases. The tragedy also led to greater scrutiny of forensic methods, media involvement in crimes, and how celebrity cases are handled in courtrooms. Charles and Lindbergh, crushed by grief, withdrew from public life. They eventually moved to Europe, seeking peace far from the country that had turned their personal horror into a public obsession. Despite Hauptmann's conviction, many questions remained. Why had no fingerprints been found on the ladder, ransom notes, or in the nursery? Why did some believe that Charles Lindbergh accidentally killed his son and orchestrated a cover-up? Were others involved in the crime who were never brought to justice? Why did Hauptmann go to his death without ever admitting guilt if he was guilty? Over the decades, researchers, journalists, and authors have revisited the case countless times. New theories have emerged, but no new trials. To this day, the Lindbergh baby kidnapping remains one of America's most debated and infamous crimes. The Lindbergh case shocked the world, but was justice truly served? Or did deeper secrets remain buried? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more unsolved mysteries and chilling true crime stories. Until next time, stay sharp, and stay curious.